We are now 1 day, 11 hours, 35 minutes, and 6 seconds into the shutdown of the government. It seems to be that we're seeing more division than ever and not necessarily getting closer to a solution. We did hear from House Speaker Mike Johnson this morning, who blamed the problem squarely on Democrats at a press conference today.
The Democrats' counterproposal CR, the dirty CR we call it, as opposed to the clean CR, would result in nearly $200 billion being spent on illegal aliens and other non-citizens. Let me be specific. This is just a few of the reforms that we put in that they want to repeal and reverse. Number one, a provision that closes the California loophole. Now that's a provision that's also been adopted by states like New York and Michigan and Massachusetts. Other states have followed, other blue states. The California loophole allows taxpayer-funded Medicaid for illegal aliens. We eliminated that in the big, beautiful bill. Their counter-offer is to repeal and reverse that. That would cost $34 billion of U.S. taxpayer funds.
So we have with us on the line this morning House Speaker Mike Johnson. We have U.S. Congressman Blake Moore, our own congressman, to join us today. And I know that we're hung up in the Senate right now, Congressman, but what does need to be done here, and when can we expect there to be any movement, if at all?
Please do not get out ahead of yourself there by calling me the House Speaker. No one wants
it's wishful
that on
thinking. Wishful thinking.
No one wants that.
We need somebody like you there, Blake.
Speaker was vice chair.
Yeah.
Speaker was vice chair, and I became the vice chair when he became next. But that does not mean that's my next step. What needs to happen is we need 5 or 6 more Democrats in the Senate to just realize, okay, this has gone on long enough. Senator Schumer has gotten his kind of moment to get back that he lost in March because, his base and his party thinks he caved, and give him that opportunity to message that. But let's get some of the reasonable Democrat senators to come on board. We already got 3 so far, and that's 2 more than we had last week. And that's the hope. This clean CR that you heard Speaker Johnson talk about, it would give us time to help finalize the 12 appropriations bills. And if we can't do that by November 21st, then you'd likely see a full year CR that goes to next year's October or end of September, which is the second worst option. The worst option is a prolonged government shutdown. Then it's just like a CR just because we couldn't come to an agreement on what the appropriations bill should look like. So we just extend last year's funding and move it until this year's funding, which is a better option than a prolonged shutdown, but that's what it is. So hopefully we'll see some more Democrat movement in the Senate. And Schumer doesn't even need to vote for it. He just needs to allow his members to vote their conscience. And I can assure you there's more than 10, 15 Democrat senators that think this is a good plan.
It seems to me, Congressman, and I may be wrong, that there's a singular holdup here, and that is, in terms of all the budget, everything that's going on in our country right now, whether or not there should be subsidies to low-income individuals in qualifying for affordable health care, and whether or not that should be back on the table. Am I wrong?
So you're wrong in one aspect of what you said, and just the way that you said it. There is going to be subsidies regardless of what happens with this potential negotiation. And the subsidies that we're talking about were enhanced during COVID, during the COVID years when Democrats did their reconciliation bill. They enhanced those subsidies when those expire at the end of 2025, because they didn't set them for longer than 4 years. They just said, hey, we're only going to do this for 4 years. They expire at the end of 2025, and they just go back to the normal Obamacare subsidies. That's the irony that we're talking about here. The subsidies aren't going away. They're just going back to what normal Obamacare, ACA, Affordable Care Act subsidies were, not and the enhanced version that they enhanced during COVID is all that's going away. That's the misnomer with this entire debate. And so there's an argument of, okay, should you let the enhanced versions expire? Yes, you should. You want to know why? Because Democrats didn't income cap them in 2021. They said, no, if you're making $500,000, you still get subsidies. If you're making $1 million a year, you're still likely going to get a subsidy if you sign up for Obamacare. And that's fundamentally wrong. That's fundamentally different than every type of tax policy that Republicans do. We, almost in every case, income cap it so the wealthiest don't get the extra added benefit. But when the Democrats do it, they didn't. They got rid of the income cap. And that's so bewildering to Republicans, because we're back there like, wait a minute, I thought you guys always talk about how the wealthy shouldn't get all the extra benefits, but then your policy says it does the exact opposite. So that's what's at stake here. Most Republicans are like, get rid of the income caps, move the subsidies back to what they were, because these are not actually helping. In fact, since the enhanced premium tax credits came into existence, you've had a significant number of people sign up for programs that they never used them. There's a potential of fraud there, that there's double use going on in the system. Plus, healthcare premiums haven't gone down. So the more you subsidize insurance companies, the less likely you're going to get premiums to stay at a consistent rate or grow at a modest, rate of inflation. Instead, they've gone up significantly, because when you subsidize the market, that's what happens. That's the frustrating part to me.
Okay, and the frustrating part to me is that I didn't understand it that well until this very minute, Congressman. And I appreciate you more than you know, because I don't know that people appreciated that. But what about this? And I'm in this position. I got to ask questions. At the end of 2025, when these particular subsidies expire, and we go back to what the Affordable Care Act had in the first place, we're hearing from the Democrats that millions of Americans will lose health care. I mean, what do you think is actually going to happen?
So my Democrat colleagues have already said millions of Americans are going to lose health care because of the reconciliation bill we did. But all we did was make sure that there was work requirements on eligibility or standards, and those are largely very much agreed on. And no one's going to be forced to lose their health insurance. They just have to work 20 hours a week for 3 months a year. So saying that and what actually does happen are going to be two very different things. But, that's the way politicians talk nowadays, and you don't ever get real information. Now, if the subsidy goes away, the enhanced subsidy goes away by the end of this year, and it goes back to normal, there is a potential for insurance premiums to go up. But there is responsibility on the insurance companies to say, hey, well, we have a part to play in this too. We've been getting subsidized on a lot of these things that weren't really the standard or the plan at very first. So we need to also look to see what we can do to ensure that our rates don't go up. It's kind of like the tuition concept. My biggest frustration with President Biden's, I'm going to just relieve all the student debt, is that doesn't put any pressure on academic institutions to keep their tuition rates in a reasonable rate. And so we want market forces to help control some of the skyrocketing cost of insurance premiums. And if you just continue to subsidize it and add to our deficit because of it, it's not going to help. That's the difference there.
And finally, Blake, can you tell us about why we keep these continuing resolutions, why we keep kicking it down the road, and if there's any optimism for the notion, like you said, that maybe between now and November 21st, we can put something together?
Yeah, well, what we should be doing is moving to a calendar year of budgeting instead of a fiscal year. I don't know when that started, but there's a lot of talk that it's just we usually get these done by the end of the year and not by September 30th. But the reason we have to do a continuing resolution is because typically the Senate, and I'm not blaming because I'm not in the Senate, but hear me out. The Senate has to reach a 60-vote threshold. So their appropriations bills, in which there's 12 each year, and it constitutes about $1.5 trillion worth of spending. Again, we spend $7 trillion, so $5.5 trillion is mandatory spending. None of that is even talked about during this appropriation CR battles. But the $1.5 trillion that goes through 12 appropriations bills, they don't ever get them done by the end of September. Senate has done 3 of them already. The House got all 12 out of committee, and we've passed like half of them on the House floor. Now, we still haven't finished all of them, but that's where we are. And we've just run out of time. And we need until the end of November to finalize those 12 appropriations bills and conference them so the Senate version looks like the House version, and then they can both be voted on. And that's where it becomes the problem with the CR, because the funding runs out October 1st. We need a few more months to finalize it. Now, as a regular business person, I would have said, well, why the heck can't you get it done by September? If you know that's the timeline, just backdate your timing a little bit better. And that's where Congress can't really figure it out. But there's always delay games and tactics and all that kind of stuff. And both parties have always been a part of that delay tactic stuff, too.
Thank you, Congressman. That was Utah Congressman and future House Speaker Blake Moore joining us on the line this morning. Explaining something in a way that we've been waiting for weeks, and I really appreciate that. Next, when we come back, Utah Democratic Chair Brian King is on the line with us. We'll get his perspective on the government shutdown and also the heated debate underway about Utah's congressional maps. Stay with us.